Hi, this is Grace Guido St. John. I'm the owner and designer for jewelry from Creations by Guido. I design and sell handcrafted jewelry made usually with gemstones and fine wires like sterling silver, gold filled, and I use a lot of copper wire and I like to oxidize it. That's my favorite medium. Actually, today I want to show you how to make the frame for a Tree of Life pendant. And if you can see here, we've got a moon rising on the sterling silver frame with the roots and the branches. I'm going to teach you for this video how to make just the frame, and we'll start with that, and at a future date I will put out a video on how I finish my creation. So first of all, the materials. You need a work surface, and I chose a cutting mat. It protects my desk, and my cutting mat has a measuring tool on it. So you'll need that, or get yourself a ruler so that you can measure the pieces that you need. I will make a list of these tools and attach it to the video. The tools that you will need are a chain nose plier, a flush wire cutter, a round nose plier, and these are all jewelry tools. I use a mandrel to make the bail shape, but you can use a pen or anything a little bit thinner than a pen as long as it's round and straight. Then I always wear safety glasses, so I'll put them on. When you're using wire and cutting wire, it's always a good thing to have. And I'm using a 9-inch piece of sterling silver wire. This is measured to 9 inches. It's 20 gauge half hard wire. And I'm also using a small piece of 28 gauge sterling silver wire. If you can see it, it's very fine and pliable. It's dead soft wire. So that's what we need. We also need a jewelry cloth to condition, work harden, and straighten your wire. And that's what we'll do first. We'll take the 9-inch piece of 20 gauge wire and run it through my cloth a few times on either end just to straighten it and work harden it, and to clean it too as you go. Oh, I forgot one other thing that we do need, and that is a pill bottle. Now you can use a different size pill bottle. I choose to use this one, and it measures about 1 3/4 inches around. That's about the size that I like to make my pendants, and that's what I made this one on. Okay, and if you can see here, it fits pretty snug on the pill bottle. This one would make a lot smaller pill bottle, and that would be, oh, maybe 1 1/4 inches round. We're going to work on the bigger one now. So we're going to take our wire, move things out of the way here a bit, and we're going to wrap it around this pill bottle until the wires overlap. You can see that here. And I want to make these ends fairly similar in length. They don't have to be exact, but let's wrap them around as tight as we can. And then we're going to go to the middle where they've overlapped and take one end and bend it straight up. So here you've got the wire wrapped around your pill bottle, and one of them is bent straight up. Now I'm going to bend the other one so that they meet in the middle. However, I like to make it just a little bit shy of the 1 1/4 inches of the pill bottle. Well, I didn't quite do that, so I can bend it again so that they will meet in the middle, something like this, around your pill bottle. Then slide it off and kind of straighten these ends that you have sticking out so that they're fairly straight and flat. And then you've got something similar to a circle shape. Now don't worry if it's kind of oblong at this point. We will straighten that out as our work goes along. But you see how my two ends kind of meet in the middle. And I'm going to take a small piece of my 28 gauge sterling silver wire. I leave it right on the spool so I don't have to waste it because it's kind of expensive to work with. I'm going to leave myself a tail, maybe about 1 inch long, and I'm going to take one of these straight ends and actually work right on the frame, the rounded part of the frame, and I'm going to lay that piece of wire over it, and I'm going to wrap it 1, 2, 3 times around that frame. Now, you don't want to overlap these wires as you wrap them, but you want them close together, so you can take your chain nose pliers and pinch them as closely together as you can. And let's see if I can show you what that looks like up close. I hope you can see that. Okay, then I'm going to take, again, the other side of the wire, the end of the wire, and I'm going to wrap the end that's attached to my spool around the other side of the straight end 3 times and pull them close together as you do. You might have to work on that because it's a little fumbly at first. So again, go down between the two of them 1. Let me see if I can get that a little bit closer. It's hard to do when I want you to see it up close. 1, 2, 3. Again, make those wraps on the other side pretty close. Pinch them together with your tool if you need to. And there you have the beginning of your bail. Okay? Now, in order to form your bail, let's straighten this out a little bit with my tool. We want to take your pen or your mandrel, lay it underneath those 2 straight wires, about 1/4 or maybe 3/4, no, maybe 3/8, and bend those wires together around the bail to form that oblong for the bail. Okay, you got it? And you want it to be pinched as close to the back of the frame as possible. You see that it's not too close right now, so I'm going to take my tool and kind of bend them in really close to the frame, and I'll do that here on my work surface so that they're as close as I can get them, and kind of bend those ends up a little bit so that they look like a French ear wire hook almost. And then I'm going to take the longer end of my 28 gauge wire and wrap that around the bail, getting it as close to the frame as possible. I'm going to go above what I just wrapped and go 1, 2, 3 times, making sure that I don't overlap them and pinching them down again to make that connection as close to the top of the bail or as close to the top of the frame as possible. So you've got a shape something like this. Now I'm going to trim this 28 gauge wire, maybe 1 inch long. You don't need a whole lot, and we'll get that out of the way because that's all we need. There are some options at this point. If you wanted to wire weave your bail, you could, but I'll do that in another video for you. So you've got these together, and you've got these little ends of your 28 gauge wire, and you've got your ends of your 20 gauge frame bent down in the middle of the frame like such. Okay, you're going to take the ends of your 28 gauge wire and wrap around the frame, the rounded part of your frame, you might want to use your tool for that, your chain nose pliers, 3 times. 1, 2, 3. It's the rule of threes in my book. And pinch them close to the very top of your frame. So you've got that. Now you want to end that loop towards the inside of the frame because we're going to cut it off close to the frame so that it doesn't pinch you when you're wearing it or catch on your clothing. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm just going to flip it over and wrap it around the rounded top of the frame. Again, don't overlap your wire. You might need some magnifying glasses in order to do this because the wire is very, very fine. And again, pinch all those areas together so that your wires are really close. I don't know if you can see that. There's the back. All right, so now we're going to trim those ends. So get your flush wire cutters and put them to the inside of your frame like this and snip them off close. Now when you snip, you want to hold your finger over the tip of the wire and point the wire down towards your work surface and trim. The reason for that is so that the wire doesn't go flying across the room and poke somebody in the eye. Then we're going to turn it and again snip off close to the inside of the frame, put your finger over the wire and point to the work surface. And there we have it. So we have 2 ends. Now I always keep these scraps because when you get enough, like I have over the years, you have tiny scraps. They're worth some money. So then I can sell them to someone who will buy silver or gold or copper, whatever I'm using. Okay, so you see how the frame isn't really circular yet. You can play with it a little bit with your fingers. If you have to use a tool, just be careful you don't mar your wire with your tool. Just kind of play with it until you get it into a circular shape. If you prefer an oval shape, you can certainly keep it oval. I've made heart-shaped tree of life. I've made oval, and just depends on where you go with it. Sometimes the wire does what it wants to do. Okay, so don't worry at this point if it's still not perfect. We can adjust it as we go. So here we have the beginning of our frame. Now the bail here is kind of a split bail, so I'm going to bend each of these little pieces of parts of the bail to the side a little bit into like a V shape, okay, so that they're separated a little bit. Gives it a little more interest. Now, next thing you want to do is to trim these straight ends of your 20 gauge wire that are attached to your frame, or that came from your 20 gauge wire. You want them to be exactly the same so that your little swirls that go up and around, and I'll show you that in a minute, are exactly the same shape and size. So I just eyeball it and go ahead and snip them both together, again pointing down towards your work surface and snipping those little ends of your wire. Save your little snips. And so you see your 2 ends are fairly equal in length. Then that's the back and this is the front. If you can see, the ends are towards the back. You're going to bend them up. You can use your tool if you need to. Bend them right at the junction at the top of your frame. Bend them straight out. One goes one way, one goes the other. And there you have the beginning of your little swirls, okay? They're pretty straight. You can do some maneuvering if you need to. All right? And those ends are pretty similar in length. Then you're going to take your round nose pliers and you're going to place them like this on your frame on the very tip, if you can see that. Remember where you've got your wire coming into your pliers, because both sides you want to put them in about the same amount of distance from the tip of your pliers so that they're going to be equal in shape. And then I'm going to roll them towards the center of the frame and take your round nose pliers out and get the end again and roll again until you have the shape that you desire. So we've got the start of a little swirl on one side. I'm going to do the same to the other side, again placing the tip of the round nose pliers and the wire in the same spot you did before, and bend it down towards the center of your work. Take the pliers off and do it again. And maneuver them a little bit. And take your chain nose pliers and kind of bend them to the center. And if your swirls aren't quite perfect, you can tweak them a little bit until you're happy with how they look, making sure that they look similar. Now this is handcrafting, so they don't have to look perfect. That's what's nice about handcrafts. They're unique, right? Okay, if you have to bend it open a little bit so that they kind of match each other, that's fine. Or if you have to pinch them in towards each other to make them a little rounder, you can do that too. And when you're happy with it, just take a look at it and pretty much you're done. Okay? Now, just go back, and if your frame isn't quite circular or the shape that you want it, go back and bend it a little, mold it a little. And the more you work with it, the easier it will be to bend. So, I like to have my little curlicues facing the back, but you can use it. So this would be the front, this would be the back, but you can use the front or the back, whichever way you like. Okay, so in my next video, we'll work on the roots and the branches of the trees and finish our project. I do sell kits to make the sterling silver tree of life with a rising moon, again, like I'm wearing here. Or I will make them, pre-make your tree of life pendants for you. I also make birthstone tree of life with little gem chips on the branches for the birthstone of whoever you want, or however many people you want on your birthstone tree of life. So I do custom orders also. So visit my website if you'd like to see the jewelry that I make. And the website is Creations by Guido. I don't know if you can see my name on my little box. Creations by Guido, that's spelled G-U-I-D-O. That's my maiden name. Creationsbyguido.com. And you can see all of my jewelry that I've made and have for sale there. Or the kits if you'd like to order a kit. So enjoy, and I'll see you later, and we'll finish the tree of life.